was carried out by the governor of El Oro province, Carlos Falquez Batallas.
Y él autorizó a la fuerza pública que nos haga el desalojo, pero no como personas, sino más bien como humanos, como animales silvestres que nos dieron bala, nosotros a mano vacía y ellos a mano armada.
Hundreds of policemen, along with dozens of armed civilians and military personnel, fired with particular viciousness and for almost 2 days on men, women, and children.
Y él me jalaba para allá. En lo que él camina para allá, viene y debajo la policía, le pega un tiro en toda la frente y cayó. Cayó boca arriba y se le vio el punto aquí. Yo que estaba al ladito, yo pegué la carrera y corrimos para acá. Pero corrimos como unos 10 para acá porque ya la bala era al cuerpo.
It was impossible to determine the correct figure because Falquez Batallas had ordered the area to be closed off. The Truth Commission registered 60 victims among the dead and wounded, and 32 disappeared. In 1988, the last year of the Social Christian Party administration, and after the winds of constitutional rupture had dissipated, Febres Cordero appeared resigned to hand over his administration to a new president. A few weeks before this transition, Febres Cordero met with his financial advisors. He asked them what the consequences would be on the economy if there was a large injection of money into the circulating monetary mass.
Le dijimos que eso iba a producir una verdadera hecatombe en el país. Dijo textualmente, a mí qué chucha me importa este país de mierda, yo lo dejo cagado.
A web of concealment in certain military and police structures was woven around the human rights violations during the Febres Cordero administration. An example is the complex scheme of crimes that began in 1985. At that time, Carlos Real, a naval infantry lieutenant at the base of Balao and Esmeraldas, apparently got a tip about a smuggling of weapons directed to Jaime Toral Salamea, who worked for Febres Cordero. Real was instructed by his superior, Subcommander Vicente Grijalva, to inform naval intelligence about the contraband. This led to an extraordinary chain of deaths. The first death was that of Lieutenant Arturo Sotomayor. He was substituting for Real on the night guard shift. The assassins presumably wanted to kill Real to prevent him from divulging the contraband operation, but they killed Sotomayor instead. It was soon rumored that Sotomayor was murdered by naval intelligence, ironically the same office that was ordered to investigate his death. Fausto Morales Villota, intelligence subdirector, blamed the homicide on seaman Elito Vélez.
Tanta tortura, de tanta corriente, de sacarle la uña con playo, de quebrarle la dentadura, se lo llevaron a Quito al Departamento de Inteligencia.
After savage torturing, Vélez was forced to involve a civilian from Esmeraldas by the name of Stalin Bolaños.
Lo trajeron en la madrugada, entonces ahí es que yo fui testigo presencial donde el capitán Morales con el sargento Cuello, el sargento Sañay, en el área de oficinas, lo mojaron, le pusieron corriente algunas veces, ahí fue que este tipo se le murió.
Meanwhile, seaman Elito Vélez's family, when they retrieved his body in Quito, confirmed that his nails and teeth had been pulled out.
No tenía los dientes, tenía la nariz dañada y algunas cicatrices.
6 years later, in 1991, witnesses and protagonists revealed the events to Captain Vicente Grijalva, who had been assigned to Subcommand Balao. There it became known how Consuelo Benavides, a teacher, died.
Era una oscuridad absoluta y después del lapso de algún tiempo se escuchan detonaciones de disparos. Después de un momento regresa el jeep con los ocupantes, el empleado civil y el teniente Fausto Morales. Nos ordena, sin la mujer, nos ordena embarcarnos y nos dirigimos a Esmeraldas. Después me enteré que era la profesora Consuelo Benavides.
Inexplicably, and in spite of the charges against Morales Villota, the Navy command kept him in naval intelligence. From there, he persecuted those who knew about the preceding events. They were Captain Vicente Grijalva and 10 seamen who, because as a result of this harassment, were illegally separated from the Navy.
Y si me pasa algo, también tengo dicho quiénes son los responsables de mi muerte en caso que me llegue a pasar a mí o a mi familia algún crimen por el supuesto accidente, como murieron todas estas personas.
In addition to the murders of Elito Vélez, Talen Bolaños, and Consuelo Benavides, Sergeant Walter Prias, who had the confidence of Morales Villota, as well as a witness and an informer of the Benavides death, was murdered in 1992. 1 year later, 1993, Eduardo Monroy died. He was an intelligence agent who drafted false reports to pursue Captain Grijalva and other witnesses. In 1994, Sergeant Germán Proaño, also a witness of the events, died. In 2005, Captain Osvaldo Campaña, who had captured Consuelo Benavides, died. Sergeant Freddy Chavez, who testified against Morales Villota and was tortured by naval intelligence, had to flee the country, just like Sergeants Hugo Moreno and José Choez, under threat. Sergeant Florencio Briones, witness to the murder of Consuelo Benavides, was forced to hide his family as a result of constant threats. Sergeant Juan Simbala and his wife were victims of attempts on their lives. And the domicile of Seaman Luis Velasco, witness of the murder of Talen Bolaños, was fired upon, and his family lives under threats. 19 years after the end of the Febris Cordero administration. During this period of time, human rights violations, although less in number and frequency, continue to occur along the same pattern as before. No defense for the victims and no punishment for the perpetrators. According to testimonies from intelligence agents, it is presumed that the same structures were responsible for the disappearance of the writer Gustavo Garzón in 1990. Illegal detentions of civilians by military personnel were repeated. In the province of Sucumbíos in 1998, 5 brothers, who were also colonists, were submitted without justification to the most brutal tortures at the Jungle Battalion 56 Tungurahua.
Nos metían a tanques de agua, nos pusieron descargas eléctricas, como ya antes lo dije, y por último cogieron a sacarme el cuero de los glúteos.
In 1999, a naval patrol in Esmeraldas fired at the fishermen, killed Luis Eduardo Casierra Quiñones, wounding 2 of his brothers. In order to justify the attack, the naval troops accused the victims of piracy. Impunity in Ecuador has brought about abuses and excesses from national and local powers. An example is the so-called social cleansing in Loja, carried out by militarized municipal police that took orders from Mayor José Bolívar Castillo. In 2003, at 7 o'clock in the morning on November 19th, a police operation left 8 people dead in a Guayaquil drugstore. According to the police, the people at the drugstore were delinquents who shot at them. Criminalistics, however, revealed that there never was a shootout and that the dead, with 4, 6, and up to 8 bullet wounds, were shot in the bank or while on the floor.
¿Por qué existen los fueros policiales en el Ecuador? Cuando la justicia ordinaria tenía que haber respondido a nosotras.
In the operation, 3 people were detained and subsequently disappeared while they were in police custody.
Bueno, son miles de preguntas en realidad y yo sí creo que el Estado ecuatoriano es el muy responsable de cada uno de nosotros como ecuatorianos.
Carlos Fonseca was a metal worker accused of collaborating with Colombian guerrilla contacts. Under torture, he was forced to sign a self-inculpating declaration. He was freed, but was ordered to change his residency. Since he did not do so, he was tried in a military court that illegally, because the defendant was a civilian, sentenced him to 2 years of jail time. In March 2008, Torture as a practice and procedure of the police was evident in the Terra Nova case. Agents tortured 3 citizens in order to incriminate them in the robbery of a jewelry store.
El dolor, la impotencia, la dignidad que se le van llevando a uno.